Hello and welcome to 9 Years TV. Tonight we've got a packed show for you. We've got a special guest lined up as well later on in the show. But initially I'm joined by none other than Robert Boyce. Rob, thank you for joining us.
Good evening, George. How's it going?
It's going well, thank you. It's sure to be a packed show tonight. We've got an exclusive interview at 7:15 with Joe Palmer, who will be discussing the Ollie Palmer situation. And we'll be getting an exclusive transfer update from him at 7:15 p.m. Also tonight we've got the team news for you. That will drop at 6:45 p.m. when Rob Tuvey will reveal the team news to us exclusively in what's sure to be a massive game for the Dons later today. We've also got an interview with George Marsh, which we recorded live at the training ground yesterday, as well as being joined from an Ipswich fan in Andy Rudge. We've got our regular international fan feature, which is joined by Martin from Thailand. And also we'll have, as always, Tom Large, who will be joining us from around the ground this evening, giving you the views from all our fans in the fan zone from now right up until kick-off. But obviously, Boise, I think first things first, the big news that we've all been thinking about and talking about over the last 24 hours, the news about Ollie Palmer. What are your thoughts?
You know what, it's an interesting one with Ollie Palmer, isn't it? Because I have a mixed reaction to it. Part of me thinks, it's fantastic we got £300,000 for a 30-year-old. And, he did have a few injury problems. He wasn't as prolific as, say, a Joe Pigott or Lyle Taylor. But then on the flip side, we've lost an experienced player who was our, top goal scorer. So I think the offer was too good to turn down, to be honest with you, George. But, yeah, mixed reaction. Obviously, transfer window's still open, so let's see what happens between now and the end of the window.
So, obviously, the club have announced officially that we have received £300,000 for Ollie, who has now gone to North Wales with Wrexham. What do you think we need? Obviously, we've got just over a week left in the transfer window. What do you think we need to do in the window? Do you want to look at us to try and find a like-for-like replacement, or do you think a striker of maybe a different sort would do?
I think it's going to be hard to find a like-for-like replacement. I mean, when we lost, for example, Tom Elliott and Akinfenwa, we waited quite a few years to find a decent target man. It didn't really work out with James Hansen and Tyrone Barnett. So, a target man is rare to find, So, for me, I would like us to get a loan sign-in. There's a particular player in the Ipswich squad who we know very well. I wouldn't mind back amongst the fold in Joe Pigott. If we could get him on loan, for example, I think would be ideal. And then to look in the summer window. The January window is never a good time to be buying and looking for players. So I don't think we can get a like-for-like replacement, but I think it's important that we get somebody with experience, because we've got Terrier Blades and a few youngsters, and I think we need a bit of experience, a goal scorer in this window.
Now, you mentioned there one of the big features of tonight. We don't know if he's in the Ipswich Town squad yet, but obviously Joe Pigott returned to Plough Lane. What sort of reception do you think he's going to get from the Dons fans this evening?
He's going to get a good reception. Joe Pigott was a loyal servant. He scored 20 odd goals a season, kept us up. He was with us for 3 years, kept us up. So for me, I'll give him a warm reception when we see him. But hopefully he just doesn't score tonight. That's the main thing, isn't it?
Oh, I certainly hope so. Obviously, he scored in the away game at Portman Road earlier this season. What are we expecting, do you think, from tonight's game overall? Do you think this is a game where we should be targeting points, or do you think this is going to be a really tough fixture for us?
Oh, it's a really tough fixture for us tonight, George. I think personally, a draw, I'd be happy with another draw. I know people are probably bored of draws at the moment. We've had 3 draws to the start of the year, but it's a really tough fixture. I think we should really be targeting Shrewsbury and Cheltenham on Saturday and Tuesday. Those are where I'm looking for, more from between 4 and 6 points personally. I think tonight, if we can get away with a point, I'd be more than happy. Obviously, we've got the news that Woodyard's out injured. We've lost our talisman in Ollie Palmer. Will Nightingale potentially needs a rest. So, yeah, I think if we can get out of here with a point tonight, really tough game, I'll be more than happy.
Well, you mentioned we are expecting changes to the Dons lineup this evening. But you look at it from going back, looking at the last 5, as you can see on your screen now. A credible draw away to Burton Albion at the weekend, where we were able to get a draw, obviously continue our run of sort of not losing after the sort of Christmas break, and also with the fact that we've actually scored for the first time in a long time. How important do you think it is, the fact that we got that first goal back?
Oh, I think we've got something to build on for this year with 3 draws. We've had 2 clean sheets. We have finally scored a goal against Burton. I would have liked potentially 2 more points out of the last 3 games, a win against Morecambe or a win against Burton. So, yeah, it's not been a bad start to a year, but like I said, I would have liked 2 more points. It's a shame that we didn't hold on to that lead. on the weekend.
So I think we can agree, it was a much improved performance at the weekend against Burton. A lot of obviously positives. Ollie getting his farewell goal, which was, admittedly, I think we all had a feeling when that went in that it was a goodbye goal. There was just that sort of feeling in the air that day at Burton. But obviously we move on from that. Big run of games coming up, incredibly difficult fixtures. Obviously tonight, Shrewsbury on Saturday, Cheltenham on Tuesday night. What are you thinking going into these next three in terms of point requirements?
I think, like I said, if we can get a point tonight, that'll be fantastic. And then, for my next two, I think that's where we've got to be targeting 6 points. I think if we can get somewhere between 4 and 6 points in the next three, I'd be happy with that. That'd be a good return. And like I said, Saturday gives an opportunity, potentially bring somebody in, hopefully.
Now, one of the things that we try and do on this show is we try and introduce you to fans from all the way around the world. And it's something that we're very passionate about here, to make sure that fans from all over the world feel included in what we're doing here. And this week we've got a very special fan video from Martin from Thailand to give us his thoughts on what a match day looks like for him abroad.
Hi, my name is Martin. I'm a Dons fan and I live in Kanchanaburi in Thailand. Weekdays and some weekends, I'm in Bangkok where I work. I've been living in Thailand on a permanent basis for the last 2 years. My wife is Thai and we have a 7-year-old daughter. I arrived here at about the same time as COVID-19 did, so I haven't travelled outside of Thailand since. I've always been a fan of Wimbledon from afar, as I grew up in Cornwall and lived in Singapore for 20 years before coming to Thailand. My first game was QPR versus Wimbledon in 1989, and after that I was hooked. I saw a few games at Plough Lane too, including a 5-1 win against Spurs. Brilliant. Most of my Dons memorabilia is still at my parents' place in Cornwall. Well, I hope it is. This is a programme from a game I didn't go to, but it has a picture of my daughter and I in it. So I work in Bangkok during the week, but my wife and daughter live in our house in Sayok, Kanchanaburi, which is about 180 kilometres away, or 3 to 4 hours drive in the car. One way to travel home at the weekend is by train, which takes about 4 hours, but is an interesting experience with lots to see on the way. Kanchanaburi is the site of the infamous Death Railway, built by POWs in World War II, and the train also crosses the bridge on the River Kwai. And home at last. Our house is in a very small village in Sayok district, not far from the Burmese border. My wife runs a food stall on the road outside our house, selling various Thai street foods. It is a very quiet rural area, and most people here are farmers or farm workers. People here wake up early and go to bed very early. Dons matches usually start around 10 p.m, so I have to be careful not to wake my family or the neighbours when watching the match on iFollow. That can be quite difficult though. On match days, I usually play a game or two of FIFA in anticipation of the game, somehow hoping to influence the result. I've been doing this since the late 80s when I had a ZX Spectrum. Something I don't have to do these days is sit watching the Wimbledon score on teletext, waiting for any update. Now with iFollow, social media, podcasts and WhatsApp groups, it's easy to keep in touch with club news and other fans' opinions. Good evening. It's almost 10 o'clock here in Thailand and almost time for kickoff. I've got my laptop linked up with the TV and iFollow on that, and just starting to hear the sounds of Mikey T now. for the commentary, and hoping for a good result for the Dons. Come on, you Dons.
Hello and welcome back to 90s TV. Rob Boyce coming in hot with the microphone there. We are now minutes away from the team news coming live to us from Rob Tuvey. So obviously we've got 2 minutes before we can reveal that to you. Rob Boyce, what would you like to see in the Dons lineup this afternoon?
I think it's going to be a much rotated side tonight. Personally, I'd like to see pace. I'd like to see a Sal, Terrier Blades and Aaron Cosgrove up front in the front. I'd like to see a 4-3-3 tonight is what I'd personally like to see with some pace. You know, obviously we've lost our target man, so I think the best way to hurt a team is, you know, with pace, you know, intensity. You know, I don't know how much midfield options we have with Woodyard. I don't know if Hartigan is ready to start a game yet, or if he needs to start off the bench. So yeah, I'd like to see maybe a 4-3-3 with Marsh, McCormack and maybe Chislett in the middle three, and in the front three with a lot of pace personally. But
so obviously today Will Nightingale is a doubt with the injury.
Yep.
Alex Rudyard, we know the club has confirmed publicly he is out for looking like 4 weeks. Ollie Palmer has obviously departed to Wrexham. How big a miss is it, that core of the team, that spine of experience? How big a replacement are we going to need from that?
Well, I don't think you can replace it, George. Like, you know, one thing I would say, which gives me a bit of confidence, is last Tuesday we had Dan Choco started and we did keep a clean sheet with him, and I thought he was superb. Done a brilliant goal line clearance against Portsmouth, and I think, you know, if Will Nightingale is, you know, probably is to be rested tonight, like I would expect, I think he can step in. It'll be a good experience for him, and, you know, build on minutes, and hopefully he can keep another clean sheet for us.
How important is it, do you think, obviously with no Ollie tonight, that we are going to, for players like Rudy and Ayub to step up if they're involved tonight, to make sure that they can get the goals that we might be missing through Ollie?
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, at the end of the day, they come through the academy, don't they, and they totally get what this club's about. So, you know, you got players like Rudy, you got Asal, you got Paul Wasu, who, you know, totally understands, you know, Robbo's philosophy and what the club and what it means to the fans. I think the most important thing tonight, George, I think it's really important for the fans to get behind the team. I mean, there was a bit of a rallying call on Twitter from Robbo, and I think, you know, we really need it tonight. You know, we're up against it. We've got a young squad tonight. We've got a few injury issues, missing Ollie Parsley, the atmosphere was rocking, and I expect the same, if not for it to crank up another level tonight, you know.
Thank you, Rob. Now, obviously, this is something we try and do every single game for all of our home matches here. We will get the team news to reveal to you exclusively first, delivered by a member of the first team coaching staff. We're just coming up to 6:45, so I'm delighted to introduce none other than Rob Tuvey to deliver today's Dons team news. Joined now by AFC Wimbledon's assistant head coach Rob Tuvey. Rob, I believe you've got the team news for us.
Yeah, I do. In goal tonight will be Nick Zanev. Right back will be Paul Wasu. Ben Hennigan and Dan Shocker will be two centre halves. Nesta Guinness-Walker will come in at left back. Luke McCormack and George Marsh will be the holding two in midfield. Just ahead of them will be Jack Rudoni and Ethan Chislett, with Ayub Asal and Aaron Cosgrave making his home debut up top. Subs tonight will be Zaki Ulia, Terry Ablade, Will Nightingale, Shay Alexander, Dapo Mabude, Anthony Hartigan will come back in, and Thomas will be making his first.
Okay. So Rob, obviously the big news there that we've all been wondering about in the last 24 hours, Aaron Cosgrove gets a nod up top. What can we expect from him tonight?
Yeah, Aaron's been absolutely fantastic in training. We watched him loads on his loan spell with Dover. Played in a side that was struggling, but he led the line superbly, and he's taken that into training. I expect pace up there. I expect that he can hold the ball up, he can bring others into play, but he loves to play off the shoulder. So that's his main threat tonight. And if he puts in the performances that he has been in training, the lad can certainly finish. So we're really excited about him being out there tonight.
Obviously, one of the highlights there is obviously Anthony Hartigan returning on the bench, especially with the news about Woody over the last 24 hours. How excited are we to have Anthony Hartigan back involved?
Yeah, it's great. It's sooner than what we thought, but he's done really well in training. The doctors have been really happy with him as well, so it's great to have him back in a selection. He's available for up to 30 minutes tonight, which is great, and hopefully we can lead that on to Saturday where he can potentially get his minutes up again.
And obviously the final sub, Thomas, it'd be great to see him if he can get minutes tonight. What can fans who maybe haven't seen much of him, what can we expect from Thomas, not just tonight but overall? Yeah,
a real technical, gifted player, both-footed. And when I mean both-footed, I mean he can literally do everything off of both feet. Real skillful player, 1v1s, loves to go at people and take players on, and is someone that hopefully will get the crowd off their feet.
Rob Tuvey, thank you for joining us and good luck this evening.
Cheers guys, thank you.
So there you go, the exclusive announcement of the Dons team news for today. In case you missed it there, Nick Zanev in goal, a back four of Paul Lossu, Ben Hennigan, who captains the Dons tonight without Will Nightingale, Daniel Shokar, Nesta Guinness-Walker, George Marsh and Luke McCormack in holding midfield, Ethan Chislett, Jack Rudoni, Ayub Assal and Aaron Cosgrove. Subs for the Dons today are none other than Zaki Uela, Will Nightingale, Shea Alexander, the return of Anthony Hartigan, Thomas, who's in line for his Dons debut if he comes off the bench later today, Dapper Mabude and Terrier Blade. Rob, obviously big talking points in that team. Aaron Cosgrove gets the nod with obviously no Wally tonight. What's your immediate reaction to that team?
Yeah, no, like I said, I'm excited by that lineup. I've kind of predicted a similar lineup just previously. I thought maybe a Blade might start with his pace, but obviously we know Cosgrove also has pace, and like I said, I'm excited by that. Not sure, it looks like a 4-2-2-2 tonight.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm excited by having that pace to hurt Ipswich today. So yeah, it's a much rotated side than it was to be expected, to be honest with you. But it gives a lot of players an opportunity tonight, to really stake their claim in the first team lineup, a bit like George Marsh has done.
Obviously, I think one of the big things that I'm really looking forward to in seeing that lineup is that potential front four of Ibisel, Aaron Cosgrove, Jack Rudoni and Ethan Chislett. How much chaos do you think they can create? And is chaos what we need tonight to be able to break down this Ipswich side?
Yeah, they're gonna have to use their pace, intensity. They're all young players, enthusiastic. Just gonna have to get out that back line and like you said, just cause chaos. And they're all technically really good players, good ball players. So, like I said, I'm excited. What they have to offer, and I'm also excited to see as well what Aaron Cosgrove has to offer, because when I saw him come on against Milton Keynes on that Tuesday night, he looked quite promising.
Now, obviously, looking at the bench, the return of Anthony Hartigan, big player, especially with Alex Rudyard looking like he's going to be out for the best part of the month. How important is it to have Anthony back in contention?
Oh, we're quite, it's so important that we get Anthony Hartigan back fit. He's been one of the better players for us this season, maybe in contention for player of the season, in my opinion. With Woodyard, missing for a month, it's perfect timing for him to come back into the fold.
And then obviously, I think the one that I personally am very excited about, Thomas, who's on loan from Barnsley. What are we expecting from him? He's on the bench tonight, potentially in line for his Don's debut if he can make it off the bench. What can we expect from him?
I've not seen much of Thomas or know much about him, to be honest with you, George, but I heard he is a ringer. I heard he's quite raw. Hopefully he's got a bit of pace and a bit of trickery, and like I said, offers something a bit different. I'm hoping he does get a few minutes off the bench tonight. I'll be excited to see him and see what he has to offer.
Now, we will be going over that team news again shortly before kick-off, but yesterday I went down to the training ground to interview George Marsh and got his views on all of the very big questions, and we managed to battle on through even with a couple of interruptions.
Hey boys, trying to do an interview here, boys. Mad setup, innit?
Okay, you good?
Yeah, good.
Okay. Hello and welcome to 9 Years TV. Today we're joined by none other than George Marsh. George, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Obviously, we'll start off at the weekend. Good points at Burton. What's your initial thoughts after that?
Yeah, it was a good point away from home. A bit disappointing. We felt like as a group we probably could have come out away there with 3 points. It was a bit disappointing, but it was a good point away from home.
Now, the club had the amazing opportunity on the Friday to train at St George's Park. What's your impression of that? Obviously, it's where the England teams are based out. What's your impressions of that facility?
Yeah, it was very impressive. Obviously, amazing facilities. Obviously, we got to use the pool area to help for our recovery for the day before the game, so it was really good.
So, obviously, once you finished training, were you able to stay there at St George's, or did you have to go to a hotel off-site?
No, so we stayed on the hotel on site. It was it was really nice, to be fair. So it was good for all the boys to stay together.
Now, what was it like having that sort of level of facility compared to what we usually have to deal with when we go to away games?
To be fair, I think as in like the hotel, I think it's very similar. To be fair, I think it was more just like the gym that we used the day before, and the pool area was a bit different.
Now, it's our understanding there were a couple of birthdays amongst the squad this weekend. Can you give any allusions into what happened, any celebrations for those players?
No, not really. There was nothing too much going on, obviously, because we had the game, but I'm sure they enjoyed themselves Saturday night.
So now, obviously, when it came to match day, how do you prepare for a match day personally? Are you one of these players that likes to get up at the crack of dawn, or do you like to get as much sleep as possible?
I usually wake up early anyway, to be fair, so I usually go down to breakfast quite early, have just a little bit so I can save myself for a bit of food for pre-match.
Now, one of the things that I was recommended to ask, heads up,
Oi!
was, do you have any favourite sayings or anything like that? Somebody hinted I should be asking you that one.
So basically, Turvey says apparently I always say mad, and then all the boys always say come on, like that. So that's the one. Yeah.
Now, when we were travelling back from Burton, were you sitting with the usual people? Who do you normally travel with when it comes to away games?
On the away games?
Yeah, who are you normally travelling with? Who are you sitting with on the coach and on the train?
To be fair, it all depends really. At the moment we have 2 coaches, we all have to be separated because of COVID. Hey boys, try to do an interview here, boys. Yeah, that's it really.
And then on the coach, is there any specific music you're listening to? Any particular songs on repeat at the moment?
To be fair, I'm big into my Netflix, so I watch quite a lot of series and like films on the way out there.
Is there anything in particular you're watching at the moment? Anything you've enjoyed recently?
Well, I've literally just finished Ozark. It's a new series on Netflix, so I've just been watching that.
Okay. What was the last film you watched?
The last film? To be fair, I haven't watched a film in ages. Literally, the last series I watched was Ozark, so it's probably that.
Now, one of the things that we always ask is, are you able to watch any football on TV? Is it something you particularly enjoy, or is it something you try and avoid?
No, I watch football quite a bit, to be fair, especially like day before games. I always watch it on telly.
Now, do you have a particular favourite pundit or anything like that? Any pundit you have a disliking to, shall we say?
I wouldn't say I dislike them, but I quite like Neville and Carragher as a combo. I quite like them 2 together. I think they're quite good.
Now, one of the things that we always end up these interviews with 9 quickfire either-or questions. Now, these are questions, just have to say the first thing that comes to your mind, and I should apologise because some of these get quite strange towards the end.
Yep, go
Okay.
for it.
So, FIFA or Football Manager?
FIFA.
Toy Story or Despicable Me?
Toy Story.
The Thames or the Everglades?
Thames.
VAR, yes or no?
No.
Worst decision to postpone, Arsenal in the North London derby or Adele in Vegas?
Down in Vegas.
Should men ever wear trousers that don't cover their ankles, yes or no?
Yes.
Curious George or George from Rainbow?
Curious George.
Should farmers feed beef burgers to swans in an effort to fatten their stomachs and make them float better?
I don't have a clue what that question was.
And the most important question, when making a cup of tea, do you put the water in first or the milk in first?
Water.
That is the correct answer. Well done, you can stay at the club.
Thank you.
George Marsh, thank you for joining us and giving us your time, despite the attempted interruption from some of the members of the playing squad. Thank you, and good luck for today's game against Ipswich.
Thanks
Thank you.
Cheers.
Hello and welcome back to 9 Years TV. I'm now joined by Stuart Deakins, Anne-Marie Godfrey and Tim Smith. Now guys, the team news has just come in. Stu, we'll start with you. What's your initial reaction to that team news?
I've forgotten it, I wasn't listening. No, I think obviously Cosgrove up front, isn't it, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We're going to have to adapt, obviously beyond the Ollie Palmer era. Tough game tonight, to be honest with you, do that. But I think where we're looking, possibly Macca in midfield, and I think he's very good at that role. I think he's got the legs and stuff like that. So, hey look, we've lost Woody, no Will Nightingale, but I think it's going to force us to play on the floor tonight, and we're good at that. So we're just going to have to see how we go. But yeah, I'm not overly surprised in terms of what he's done.
Now, Anne-Marie, no Alex Rudyard tonight. We believe he's out for about a month according to the club. What Rob Tuvey said there was that it will be Luke McCormack and George Marsh holding in midfield. How big a job does Luke McCormack have today to fill those Woody boots?
Well, I think that's it. You know, what Robbo said this morning was Woodyard's been in fantastic form and he will be difficult to replace. I don't think that Macca's going to try and be Woodyard. I think they're 2 very different kind of players. And Macca in his own right has been on fantastic form recently. It's hard, but you know, George Marsh has really stepped up as well. He's got him helping out there. I think he'll be playing more of that defensive role and hopefully giving Macca that option to really show how creative and you know, some of his attacking football and some of the crosses he's been putting in have been unbelievable. So hopefully he still gets that freedom to move forward.
Now we've got our roving reporter Tom Large right outside. It looks like he's found someone to speak to in the south stand. So I'll hand over to him. Tom, if you can hear us, the stage is yours.
with some better audio situation. I'm joined by how long have you gone for?
Since my dad used to take me to Plough Lane, late 70s.
And what's your best memory?
Yeah. Sorry about that. We appear to be having some audio issues there with Tom. Tom, I'm sorry about that, but the audio quality was a bit jumbled. We couldn't quite hear what you were saying, but we'll come back to you as soon as we can later on today. Tim, thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for entering our competition earlier this week as well. So I believe we can now play your winning video if our director can line that video up for us.
Quarter of an hour gone here at the Pirelli, a ground where we've never won, we've never even taken the lead. But here's McCormick, and he's found Mabudi. Mabudi is running at Oshalaja. He's round him on the left. Can he shoot? Yes, he can, but it's wide, just wide of the far post. Nightingale inside the Burton half, lifts it forward. He's looking for Redoni. He's onside. He nods down to Asal. Over. Zanev's clearance. Onto the head of Palmer. He flicks on Asal. That's lovely control and a lovely touch to Redoni. Redoni finds Palmer. Palmer shoots. It's there. The drought is over. More than 8 hours since we scored, and Palmer has his 8th of the season. He celebrates with Redoni, who played such a role in the build-up.
Tim, obviously, thank you for sending that in. You were the winning guy in that competition. What was it like filming that? Is commentary something you've done before? Is it something you want to be doing more of?
It's something I've always wanted to do. As a kid, I was an absolute Wimbledon nut, and I always wanted to be a football commentator. I joined the BBC, but I never got to commentate. So when I saw the competition, I thought, let's have a go. And I was at Burton, and it seems like ancient history now, watching Ollie Palmer score, but it was great to commentate.
Who is he? Who is he?
Yeah, I've never heard of him before. We'll move on. But yeah, obviously, you mentioned that you were at the Burton game. What were your reactions there? Because I mean, obviously, I was there as well. I thought we had a much improved Don's performance, and bar, being a bit more clinical in front of goal, maybe we could have got all 3 points.
Yeah, I was really encouraged. I think actually what we'll miss about the centre forward, whose name we won't mention again, is his composure, because the way he took the goal, I thought that's perhaps what we lacked from some of our other chances that we missed. I thought Marsh was brilliant, and I thought Luke McCormick played pretty well for 10 minutes in Alex Woodyard's role. So of all the players missing tonight, it is up front I'm most worried about, because even with he who shall not be named here, we didn't score for 5 games. So where are the goals going to come from? We'll miss Will as well, but Dan Choker was great last week, and the best game I've seen this season, I live in Yorkshire, so I watch a lot of away games, was at Lincoln, where there was no he who shall not be named, and there was no Will Nightingale, and we still won.
But that's the thing, I think it's one of the things, there's going to be a very different style of play tonight at Marie Godfrey. Obviously, we don't have that traditional target man. It's going to be more chaos spaces, I think the best way to put it, of just sheer energy, running, closing everything down, forcing errors. How much do you think the energy levels and the youthfulness of that potential front four tonight is going to come into it?
Absolutely, and actually when we were talking about it, when it was just mere rumours around Mr. Palmer, the man who should not be named, we talked about, obviously that's going to change the way that the whole team play and the way that the whole team's set up, and we talked around that pace and that energy, especially with Terry coming into the fold potentially. We have to just look at other options. We can't just focus our whole team and our whole season around one player, because any football team that does that is leaving themselves vulnerable. But yeah, we have to work on the fact that we have that depth and that pace and that energy, and use that to our advantage going forwards.
Now, obviously, the depth is a big important thing. It was a big strength of ours earlier this year. Stu, Anthony Hartigan back on the bench today after a spell out with injury. How important is it to have him back in the fold, and could the timing be any better with the news about Alex Woodyard?
Yeah, obviously Woody's a big loss, isn't it? Thankfully George Marsh has had a few games, so it's not as if we're bringing George Marsh in to get up to speed. I don't think he's got a problem with that at all. Loves a tackle. Imagine Woody and him in the same midfield. The legs and that. I think Andy Hartigan is a good option. Obviously, I think what we've missed recently is just as good as Woody and George Marsh are. We aren't able to hit the long diagonals and switch play, which we're quite good at. Which is, I don't think, why we've got the space with Ayom and stuff like that. So I think Andy Hartigan gives you a totally different option in there. But
I think Luke playing deep, he can hit those diagonals. He was starting to do it on Saturday, so I think actually he might have more of an influence playing further back. We'll see.
Yeah, I think also he can drive from there as well, can't he? in that sort of, he's got the energy and the legs to do that role. I think he'll be fine. But I think it depends how long Andy Hartland's got. We've got 2 games coming up, so if we can get away without playing him tonight, that'd be great. But we'll see how the game goes.
You mentioned those big games coming up. Obviously, that's a big part of the decision to rest Will Nightingale from the bench tonight. Anne-Marie, is that something that we're going to have to be a big part of our consideration for the upcoming games, considering the fixture congestion between now and realistically March?
Yeah, I think so. Probably not even just for Will. I think with the fact that it's Saturday, Tuesday, there will be some players that we're going to have to rotate in and out. And again, that just goes back to the fact we have that depth. I really like what you said, that Dan Shoker, he stepped in and was unbelievable recently, and that was after quite a long run of not being in the squad. We should have that confidence, really, knowing that we've got these players who can step up and step in for key players like Will. But yeah, I think we'll see a lot more of it, just to try and keep people fresh, especially down the spine of the team.
Now, obviously, Tim, that very young back four tonight of Paul Ossu, Ben Hennigan, Dan Shoker and Nesta Guinness-Walker, we know what Ipswich provide. How big a test is it going to be for those 4 very young defensive lines?
Well, let's be honest. I mean, Ipswich are one of the big names in the division, aren't they? But they've got their own problems. I mean, I know we're going to talk about Ipswich later, but their captain's suspended. I was having a look at the team that they put out against us back in August, and the team they played on Saturday. Only 3 players who played against us in August are starting tonight. That started on Saturday. So, they have the individuals, they have the high wages, but arguably we have a more consistent team, perhaps more of a team spirit, and I think that's what we've got to put our hopes on tonight. Those players know each other.
That's obviously going to have to be the major part of it. Ipswich do provide several threats. We are joined by an Ipswich fan who can join us now.
I'll jump out.
We're saying goodbye to Stuart Deacons, who takes out our equipment on the way with him. We're now joined by Andy Rudge. Andy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, thank you for joining us on 9 News Live. Obviously, I don't know, have you had a chance to see the Ipswich team used today?
Yeah, I have. I've just seen it. I was surprised. I must admit, I thought it was a mistake when I first saw it. So we've our front. We won on Saturday. We beat Accrington, and the front 3 from Saturday are all on the bench. So it's a big surprise. And Caden Jackson's up front, who, to be honest with you, I never thought I'd see playing for Ipswich again. So I don't know what to expect.
I think that's going to be a big one. Obviously, it's going to be a very challenging game for us, and it shows a strength in depth there that you said. You've got Caden Jackson up front, and you never thought he'd play for you guys again. When I think all 3 of us would kill for a player of Caden Jackson's ability to be joining us in the next 7 days. But just looking through the team, you've got some incredibly talented players, a lot of young talent as well. But you've got obviously Wes Burns, who I think is going to be a key player for you tonight, alongside Kay Vincent Young as your wide players. How much of your play is dominated by what you can do out wide?
I think Wes Burns has been, along with Macaulay Bonne, our best signing this season. And we had a lot of signings last summer, but certainly Burns and Macaulay Bonne stand out. Burns was playing more as a right winger earlier in the season, but obviously as you benefited from in the home game, we were conceding a lot of goals. So the new manager's come in. He's playing 3 centre-backs now to make us better defensively. And Wes Burns is now playing as a right wing-back. But still on Saturday, he got forward and scored a goal.
And he was your best player against us in August. But we've got to ask about one of your subs. Could you lend us him back?
Well, I almost feel guilty, but we've got him, to be honest with you. No, because I think the Wimbledon game, what was it, August, September time? That was the last time he played 90 minutes for us. He's got 20 goals for you last season in this division, and he really hasn't played. Unless you say now we're bringing in Caden Jackson and they're like James Norwood's come back. We've got so many. We've got Macaulay Bonne on the bench. We've got so many attackers.
So if you played 3 strikers on Saturday and you've got 3 different strikers today, and he's still not playing, you don't really need him.
I think it's fair.
Now, I think obviously one of the key points today, the battles, is going to be your centre backs. It looks like it's going to be Luke Wolfenden and George Edmondson at the back for you guys today as your key pairing at the back. How do you think they're going to How do you think they're going to deal with the pace and the energy that our very energetic front 3 or front 4 are going to offer tonight?
Well, I think maybe that's why, as I said, we are playing 3 centre-backs now, so we've got a bit more depth. It's not a 2 centre-backs. So I think the extra centre-back does help against that pace. He can't get in behind us easily. I guess what it means is we can't play as, the extra centre-back means we don't play as many attackers, which is why Piggott and Bourne and the likes are on our bench.
So as an Ipswich fan, obviously this is the first time we've had a chance to chat to an Ipswich fan this season. What are your thoughts on Pigott? I mean, I know he hasn't had the minutes this season. What do you think of him as a player? Do you think he's going to be destined for a long time at Portman Road, or do you think it's not quite working out?
I think he's been very unlucky. He scored a couple of goals early, but we were playing with one centre forward earlier in the season, and Macaulay Bonds scored. He went on a great run early in the season, and he got that number 9 shirt. So I think Pigott's been unlucky. We've got a new manager in now, but he's maybe doesn't fancy Pigott because he's brought back other forwards ahead of him. So maybe he's available.
Now, one of the things that we do is we highlight an opposition's key players. Stuart Deacon's with the pick this week. He's picked Wes Burns. You can see his stats on the screen now. Incredible number of minutes played for a player at this stage of the season. It doesn't look like he is replaced fairly often. On average, but you look at those ranks. With the goals, the goal involvements, all of those things.
Is he wearing a hairband?
It does appear he's wearing a hairband. Does he get credit for that as a wing back?
We're just jealous that you can. As I said, he's been a good signing, and we haven't had many, to be honest. He's been a good signing. He's technically strong. He scores goals. He's good with his feet. He's not a winger who relies on pace. He's a good technical player. I don't think he's got 6 goals for us this season. I think maybe only one season before he'd ever scored more than 6. So he's having one of his best seasons. I think up in Scotland it's Burns night tonight, and I hope at Plough Lane it's Wes Burns night.
You mentioned one of those things, his potential lack of pace, maybe not a strength for him. Do you think that could be a potential weakness for Ipswich today and in for the Dons? As we obviously have a lot of quick young players, do you think that could be something we could look to exploit?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, as I said, we're slightly more defensive now. To be honest with you, I'd say where to exploit is the centre midfield. Because Sam Morsey, our captain in centre midfield, has just been suspended today for 4 games. So we're missing him. In centre midfield, we've got Tom Carroll, who I think had his first start on Saturday, and Tyreek Backinson, who we've just got on loan from Bristol City, and this is his first start. So I think maybe for centre midfield is where we may be slightly vulnerable.
So we will be joined shortly by AFC Wimbledon Ladies captain Hannah Billingham, who is waiting to be let in. So just as Stu runs downstairs to let one of our Dons players join us in the studio later. Obviously, I think one of the things we're looking at tonight with you guys, is it something that is Ipswich fans going into this game, what are your expectations? Are you expecting 3 points? Or?
On the train down here, I was expecting 3 points. I've seen the team now, and I don't know whether he's looking at players. Yes, I said we've got a new manager. Maybe he's looking at players, trying different players out. I do fear with that lineup that maybe I'm not as confident as I was an hour ago. But we don't know. A club our size with our squad, we should be confident going into any game, obviously. But it doesn't always turn out that way.
You mentioned your new manager there, Kieran McKenna, one of the most highly respected young coaches in the country at the moment. What's the Ipswich fans' initial reaction to his appointment?
I think it's positive. He's very different to the other managers that we've had recently. Like we've had Paul Lambert, Paul Cook, Mick McCarthy, very kind of traditional managers. He's a young guy with new ideas, maybe more of like a Brendan Rodgers type. He's something different, which is what we need. I think it's very positive.
Now, obviously, you can see the rewind looking back to 2 previous games where we've played you guys. Obviously, the COVID game behind closed doors here last season towards the end of it, with the Dons walking out 3-0 winners as an Ipswich fan. What was the reaction to that one like when you were watching it on iFollow?
Honestly, probably indifference. At that point, those players playing for Ipswich, they knew we had Paul Cook in, we had new owners. They knew they were getting moved on in the summer, and that was a team who, to be honest with you, came out and didn't play like they wanted it. And I think the season was over by that point for us. So I know. I was speaking to him earlier. I know he said that was possibly one of the Wimbledon's best performances. But to us, it was. Yeah, it won't live long in the memory, put it that way.
And then earlier this season, obviously at Portman Road, we've touched on it, that 2-2 game earlier this season, right at the start of the season, in fact, back in August. What was it like? Obviously, the Dons coming from behind, Jack Rudoni for us scoring the 95th minute equaliser. What was the reaction around Ipswich like around that game as well?
Yeah, it was again 2-0 up at home. It's disappointing. And that was a time, I think 3 or 4 2-2s at home we had starting the season. So you could just see we couldn't hold on to leads, we couldn't defend them out. There was nervousness, a lot of new players. Like fair play to Wimbledon, they kept going to the 96th minute and got the point they deserved. But we were disappointed.
I think you're being very diplomatic. I mean, for me, that was one of the most memorable games of the season.
100%.
I mean, a goal in the 96th minute, and I think one of the things that we forget about that day is Jack Rudoni got the equaliser, but actually Hennigan assisted it. Rudoni tapped it in got it in at the far corner, but Hennigan got the first goal, assisted with a second, and I think arguably Hennigan is going to be our most important player tonight, because we've had this spinal season with Hennigan, with Woodyard, with he who should not be named, and Hennigan is really the only really experienced player in that side tonight, so I think he's going to be vital.
Shit, he could replace Ollie up front. He's got that one. Give it a whirl.
Now, one of the big things, the head-to-head, we're just looking at that. Obviously, 1 win each for each side, 3 draws between it. Now, before we let you go, Andy, can we have your prediction for today's game?
I said I was confident earlier, but looking at the team, I know you're defending well, you're not letting in many goals, but I've got to go. I'm going 1-0 Ipswich.
Okay, now we'll go just before. I believe actually Tom Large is joined by a fan outside, just in the south stand. Tom, can you hear us, and can we hear you?
Sorry, I hope you guys can hear us now. Sorry, I'm joined by Greg. How are you, Dons Club? Since the late 70s, I think your favourite member of Dons Club. Well, apart from the FA Cup, I can remember being first in the League Cup, obviously Luton, but I think incredibly first game back in the league against us. Fantastic. And I'm sorry, just a prediction for tonight. We're going to win, I feel it's we're going to win 2-1. Twice, really twice, yeah. Love it. Fantastic. Thank you too.
There we go. I've just done a Stuart Deakins and left myself on mute while I did the lead back in. Sorry about that, everyone. Obviously, now we'll look around the games around the league. Obviously, big game for us tonight here at Plough Lane against Ipswich. Burton Albion hosting a team from Buckinghamshire. Fleetwood Town hosting Plymouth Argyle. Gills hosting Shrewsbury, who we obviously play on Saturday. Tim, looking at those games tonight, what are your thoughts looking at? Are there any games there that catch your attention?
Well, Gills against Shrewsbury. I hope the Gills sort of tire them out, frankly, because I think Saturday is going to be a very big game for us. And one would hope that we've got an opportunity tonight to get some points back on teams like Shrewsbury to drag them into the battle at the bottom. So that for me is the game that matters most tonight.
Now we've got an exclusive interview with Joe Palmer lined up. This is about the Ollie Palmer situation. It is just approaching 7:15, so we can now play that for you live. We are now joined by FC Wimbledon CEO Joe Palmer. Joe, obviously the news came through yesterday that we've sold Ollie Palmer to Wrexham. An initial fee of £300,000 has been confirmed by the club. What was the decision-making process that led to Ollie departing?
Well, so obviously Wrexham were very keen to get their man. They came in with a very good offer, and we were obviously reluctant to sell Ollie at this time. But obviously when it gets to a certain point, particularly in regards to personal terms that they were offering Ollie, it then came down to his decision, because it was a quite phenomenal offer, and obviously one he couldn't turn down at this stage of his career. It was going to set him and his family on the right footing. So we had the discussion, and we did again reiterate that we wanted him to stay, but ultimately at the end of the day, he wanted to go, and the offer that we had from Wrexham as well was made a lot of great financial sense for us as a club, so it worked out well for all parties.
So now we're into the dreaded last week of the January transfer window, which can always be a nightmare anyway in the best of times. How are we fixed in terms of not so much a replacement, but how are we fixed in terms of looking at potential people?
Background with the panel and doing a lot of their analytics and providing that information for Robbo to help him make good decisions. So we hope to have some more news later this week.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us, Joe.
Pleasure.
Enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's going to be interesting tonight. Obviously, with Woody out, and obviously giving Will a bit of a rest as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the other players step up, particularly in a big game like this. So excited to see, and also I want to say excited. I'm really excited by this project as well. I'm really glad that we've got this up off the ground because it's a real asset to the club. So I really thank you guys for all the work you do with this, and I think it's a great step forward.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Hello and welcome back to 9 Years TV. It's something that obviously I think has been the main talking point over the last 24 hours. The news about Ollie Palmer, Anne-Marie, we've got a £300,000 initial fee. What's your immediate reaction to the transfer deal?
I think it's really good business, to be honest. I mean, obviously, I know that when we were talking about this a couple of weeks ago, the rumours were around 180,000, and actually, we were looking at the benefit of keeping Ollie versus that money, and how much it would benefit towards our push to stay up this season. We saw 180, and then the whole situation to me has changed with the fact it's 300. That's a huge amount of money for us, and I think we've got that depth going forwards to cover for him. I think we'll be fine, and I think personally it's good business.
Now, Tim, your reaction? £300,000 game changing for the club?
Yeah, I reckon that must be the most we've ever got for a player. I know we don't always share fees, but I can't remember as AFC Wimbledon us ever getting anywhere near that. Toby Civic we got a couple of 100k for maybe. I think it is good business for a 30-year-old striker. I think his goal on Saturday put a few more quid on the fee, but I think it is fact that we perform better with him in the side. I mean, Plough Lane by Numbers did a brilliant blog a week or so ago. We've got 1.5 points a game with him playing, less than a point a game without him playing. I think he does bring us a lot. He brings us experience, fight, composure, which makes him really difficult to replace. I think we can replace. We could maybe get a player with one or two of those things, but all three, I think he brought a lot to the side, and I think that makes it an issue.
Target man is gold dust, really.
Yeah.
But so I think we will end up having to change the way we play as a team for the second part of the season without him.
Now we've got Tom Large in the south stand. It looks like has found a fan to speak to. Tom, can we hear you?
Yeah. We're back again now with flip side. Sorry, what's your name? Sam.
So how long have you been a Dons fan for?
My whole family. So Darren, what's been your favourite Wimbledon memory?
So with the news of Ollie Palmer, she's just left for Wrexham. £300. Big enough budget. What's the best I can do with that?
I have the ending score prediction for tonight. 31 actually. Go first. Figure. No. Yes. Okay, look inside. Rudy. Go away back to the patient. And fantastic. Done.
At home. Yeah, sorry. Thank you for that, Tom Large. Hopefully you were able to hear that, all of you at home. Now, one of the big things will be joined very shortly by AFC Wimbledon women's captain Hannah Billingham, but before then, Anne-Marie, big game tonight for the Dons men's first team as we face Ipswich. We haven't actually heard your initial reaction to what was a very good point gained at Burton on Saturday.
It is. It's a fantastic result. I know it's obviously three draws in a row, but I think before the match I definitely have been happy with that. It's obviously a different situation to reflect on now. Looking back, it was a squad with Ollie in it. But I thought we played well, and when we were looking through the highlights and the fantastic commentary you provided, some of the link-up play was superb, and it's not easy to go to someone else's ground, a good, well-organised team like Burton, and turn up and play our type of football that Robbo wants us to play.
I also thought that it was the first game I'd been lucky enough to see for 80 days, and the difference I noticed was how much more solid we were. with Will, with Hennigan, with Marsh and with Woodyard, those four, whenever Burton got the ball going forward, they very rarely had the time to shoot. They really performed well, and as the game grew on, particularly when Asal came on, the confidence just went through the roof. And Asal, we haven't talked about him much tonight. I mean, I think he becomes an even more important player this evening.
Absolutely.
Because he was just making things happen on Saturday, particularly when Burton had the ball. The Wimbledon press relies on him so much, and I think that could be an area where I hope we have some success tonight.
Do you think that's so important? Obviously, the Ipswich Town back three that we were hearing about earlier. Do you think that is something that the press on them is something that's going to be key for us if we want to get anything from this game?
I think it's been key all season, but I think on Saturday when Asal came on, we were particularly effective. I just hope that without Palmer as well, I think the two of them were key on Saturday. So one would hope that the other forwards can do a bit of that as well.
Obviously, it's something that is going to be a big talking point. Looking at that league table again, the Dons, a big win tonight, or even a point tonight, would put us a bit more breathing room between us and the relegation zone. Tonight is one of our games in hand. How important do you think it is that we get something on the board tonight, even if it's a single point?
Well, it's funny, you were talking to Andy, the Ipswich fan, earlier, and he said he was really confident coming here, and then when he saw the team, he became less confident. I've sort of grown in confidence since I got here when I heard what Andy had to say. And I think this is a tough game, and I think arguably the next two against Shrewsbury and Cheltenham on paper are more winnable. But yeah, I think it's vital we keep the momentum going. We are 3 games unbeaten, so let's at least get a point tonight, maybe even sneak a win.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's we've lost a big player from the team, but it's about the whole squad. So we're not a one-man squad. We've got a huge squad with all sorts of different talents and skills and abilities, and about saying this is Plough Lane, this is our home, and just really try and imprint what we're all about tonight against a huge club, really, when you think about it.
Now, we are aware that we've got fans joining us throughout the whole evening tonight, so we will just replay that video that we gave to you exclusively earlier tonight, where Rob Tuvey gave us the Dons team lineup first. We'll just replay that in case anyone's joined us recently. Joined now by AFC Wimbledon's assistant head coach Rob Tuvey. Rob, I believe you've got the team news for us.
Yeah, I do. In goal tonight will be Nick Zanev. Right back will be Paul Sue. Ben Hennigan and Dan Shocker will be 2 centre halves. Nesta Guinness-Walker will come in at left back. Luke McCormack and George Marsh will be the holding two in midfield. Just ahead of them will be Jack Rudoni and Ethan Chislett, with Aya Basel and Aaron Cosgrave making his home debut up top. Subs tonight will be Zaki Ulia, Terry Ablade, Will Nightingale, Shay Alexander, Dapo Mabude, Anthony Hartigan will come back in, and Thomas will be making his first.
Okay. So Rob, obviously the big news there that we've all been wondering about in the last 24 hours, Aaron Cosgrove gets a nod up top. What can we expect from him tonight?
Yeah, Aaron's been absolutely fantastic in training. We watched him loads on his loan spell with Dover. Played in a side that was struggling, but he led the line superbly, and he's taken that into training. I expect pace up there. I expect that he can hold the ball up, he can bring others into play, but he loves to play off the shoulder. So that's his main threat tonight. And if he puts in the performances that he has been in training, the lad can certainly finish. So we're really excited about him being out there tonight.
Obviously, one of the highlights there is obviously Anthony Hartigan returning on the bench, especially with the news about Woody over the last 24 hours. How excited are we to have Anthony Hartigan back involved?
Yeah, it's great. It's sooner than what we thought, but he's done really well in training. The doctors have been really happy with him as well, so it's great to have him back in a selection. He's available for up to 30 minutes tonight, which is great, and hopefully we can lead that on to Saturday where he can potentially get his minutes up again.
And obviously the final sub, Thomas, it'd be great to see him if he can get minutes tonight. What can fans who maybe haven't seen much of him, what can we expect from Thomas, not just tonight but overall? Yeah, a real technical, gifted player, both-footed. And when I mean both-footed, I mean he can literally do everything off of both feet. Real skillful player, 1v1s, loves to go at people and take players on, and is someone that hopefully will get the crowd off their feet. Rob Tuvey, thank you for joining us and good luck this evening. Cheers guys, thank you. We are now joined by AFC Wimbledon women's captain Hannah Billingham. Hannah, thank you for joining us on your night off.
Thanks for having me.
Now, I think it's fair to say it's been an eventful season so far for the Dons ladies side. Obviously coming here to Plough Lane, doing quite well in the league, and an incredible win on Sunday for us. Could you just give everyone who doesn't quite know what was happening on Sunday?
Yeah, so on Sunday we were playing the team at the top of the league at the moment, #United. It was an away trip to Canvey Island after an away trip on Wednesday and then an away trip we'd had on the Sunday before. And we're grateful to say we managed to get all 9 points from the games. So yeah, we're really happy with it.
Obviously, that's the second time we've beaten hashtag at Canvey Island so far this year after we knocked them out of the Vitality Women's FA Cup. Is it something now we've still got a plan at home, we've got games in hand, is there a belief in the squad that we can keep this run of form going that we've had so far, pretty much since bar the first couple of games over the last 6 months or so? Is there a belief that we can keep that run of form going and hopefully sneak into those promotion spots?
Yeah, of course they are. There's always belief, but we want to take each game as it comes. So we look at our performance as we play. We look at the first half, we look at the second half. We don't want to focus too much on the end goal because I think that can sort of put too much pressure on us, and we just want to take each game as it comes and see what we can do. But yeah, we have got hashtag again at home. We're actually really looking forward to it because I think on a no offence to their pitch, but on a lush pitch like this, I think we can do a lot better than we even did on Sunday.
You mentioned this incredible Plough Lane pitch. We've managed to play a few of our games here so far this year. What is it like walking out here in front of especially that incredible crowd we had here for Walton Casual? What's it like playing on this Plough Lane pitch?
Unbelievable. So yeah, the fact that we've got a crowd here is fantastic, but the facilities, the ground, the carpet that we're playing on, it's unbelievable. Yeah, I've never played on a pitch like it, but we absolutely love it. And the fact that we can call it our home ground as well, it's amazing.
Now the Dons are in action this Sunday. Sadly, it is at Carshalton. Straight after talking about Plough Lane, we welcome Cambridge City. What do you think we can expect from that? Obviously, we won the away game 4-1 earlier this year. Is it a game that we're expecting maximum points from?
We take each game as it comes. We'll see what we can do. We're hoping to get the 3 points, but we know that every game we've got to play 100%. We've got a battle. It's going to be a tough game. So Carshalton again, though, it's a lovely playing surface. We can actually get the ball down. We can play it. So we're looking forward to it. And we think we can hopefully get the 3 points. Yeah.
And then after that, we make a trip down the road to a ground Anne-Marie Godfrey's familiar with us. We made a trip to Havant and Waterlooville where we played Portsmouth. Is that what do we expect? Obviously, it'll be our third attempt to play Portsmouth this year.
Yeah.
Are we looking forward to hopefully finally getting 90 minutes against them?
That would be fantastic, yeah. So in our pre-season we had 2 games against them. One of them got called off because of thunder and lightning, and the second we tried to play an evening game and the lights weren't working, so we got called off at half time. But yeah, hopefully this time we get 90 minutes, and we actually think we could do a job on Portsmouth. If we're at top of our game, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Now there's 11 league games left for the Dons this season, 9 of them at home. A large majority of those will be here at Plough Lane. How important is it to have the Dons support behind you?
Oh, it's incredible, honestly. So just having the supporters here, having it on our social media, it's great. And this season, more than any other season, it's just come to life, and it's so good for our team and for the women's game in general as well. It's brilliant.
Now, obviously, it's the men's game here. You guys are here. The whole squad is here tonight watching it. Are you guys looking forward to actually watching a game here and experience some of the famous Plough Lane atmosphere?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so we've been to a couple of the games already this season, but Kev's given us the night off training so we can come down and support the lads and Robbo and see what they can do. But I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
Right, thank you so much for joining us tonight, Hannah Billingham. Now, earlier on, in case you missed it, Joe Palmer gave us an exclusive talk and an update on the Ollie Palmer situation, so we'll just play that again. And afterwards, we'll be joined by Stuart Deakins and Rob Boyce for your pre-match build-up. We are now joined by FC Wimbledon CEO Joe Palmer. Joe, obviously,
one he couldn't turn down this stage of his career. You know, it's going to set him and his family on the right footing. So, you know, we had the discussion, and you know, we did again reiterate that we wanted him to stay, but ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, he wanted to go, and the offer that we had from Wrexham as well was made a lot of great financial sense for us as a club, so it worked out well for all parties.
So now we're into the dreaded last week of the January transfer window, which can always be a nightmare anyway in the best of times. How are we fixed in terms of not so much a replacement, but how are we fixed in terms of looking at potential people to bring into the club?
Well, obviously this conversation with Ollie has been going on for a couple of weeks behind the scenes, so we've been looking at players all throughout that period. Some unfortunately have gone during that period before Ollie left. And there are still some that we're talking to now. You know, it's very much our plan that we would like to bring in someone, and like I said, those discussions are ongoing. We've still got quite a few days of the window left, and we want to make the most of them. So we want to make some good decisions then. So there's a lot of work going on in the background with the panel and doing a lot of their analytics and providing that information for Robbo to help him make good decisions. So yeah, we hope to have some more news later this week.
Brilliant. Thank you for joining us, Joe.
Pleasure.
Enjoy the game tonight.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's going to be interesting tonight. Obviously, with Woody out, and obviously giving Will a bit of a rest as well. So it'll be interesting to see how the other players step up, particularly in a big game like this. So excited to see. And also, I want to say I'm really excited by this project as well. I'm really glad that we've got this up off the ground because it's a real asset to the club. So I really thank you guys for all the work you do with this, and I think it's a great step forward.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hello and welcome back to 9 Years TV. Rob seeming unaware of whenever we're about to come back live for the second time this evening. We are now just over 10 minutes away from kick-off. Stuart Deacon's running just into shots as well.
I'm knackered, George.
Yeah, after you were running around to try and find Hannah before someone kindly brought her up without you and without any of your phones on you, I was unable to communicate that. So a bit of sweat on the heads of you and Rob.
To be fair, Rob and I don't need that much exercise. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, we've got around the East Stand. It's busy around here. It's
What is it like behind there? Obviously, Tom's come back upstairs now. What's it like there? This 10 minutes away from kick-off.
Busy. But that's the thing, is it's midweek, isn't it? So as even those travelling in, do you know what I mean? Wimbledon is not the easiest place to get to in terms of traffic. So it's busy out there. I know last game East Stand was a little bit difficult getting in, wasn't it? Yeah. But it's still empty over there, to be honest with you. But then it's people getting here late midweek. It is what it is, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Now, obviously, Rob, we're getting 10 minutes away from kick-off. What are your thoughts going into this one? Now, we've discussed the team news from both sides. What can we expect from this, which is sure to be a massive test for the Dons?
It's a hard game tonight. I don't know what to expect. I don't have a prediction for tonight. Normally, last few games I've predicted a draw. I don't even know what to expect tonight. It's a tough game. Obviously you can't predict a loss live on TV, so I'm probably going to have to predict another draw. It's a tough game. Like I said, I think our main points have got to come from Shrewsbury and Cheltenham in our next two, and if we can nick a point or even 3 tonight, then that really is fantastic. I mean, it is our game in hand tonight as well, George. So I don't know, use the term free hit, but it kind of falls in that kind of category a little bit.
Now, Marie, what are you expecting from this one tonight?
I agree with Rob in terms of it feels like a bit of an unknown quantity. We're going to have a different lineup to what we have done the last couple of games. I expect that we will try, like I said earlier, put our stamp on it, the way we want to play. It's going to be a new way of playing without Ollie. I always feel optimistic, so I'm looking forward to it. It's Plough Lane, Tuesday night. Let's go for it.
Stu, we're starting to feel a bit of the atmosphere starting to come through as the Ipswich fans are finding their voice. How important do you think the atmosphere is going to be tonight? So there's a very, very young Dons team come up against an Ipswich side with, I think it's fair to say, a few more recognisable names.
Yeah, but Ipswich are very hot and cold, aren't they? Yeah. So, hey, look, we've seen, we're spoiled now down here, isn't it? So you just want Ipswich, let's be fair, Ipswich are not used to playing at these sort of things, but not at these sort of tight stadiums. So yeah, it's got to really help us. But we just got to hope Ipswich turn up not on their best form. If they turn up on good form, we're going to struggle. If they don't, we've got a chance.
That's the thing. I think if Ipswich do turn up with any complacency going into tonight's game, having seen our team use, that's when we're going to come good. That's when there's going to be an error. That's when the press is going to start coming good. So I think that is going to be a big strong point for us tonight. We will just obviously read through the team use quickly for you again for the Dons. Obviously, Nick Zanev in goal, a back four of Paul Ossu, Ben Hennigan, Dan Shoker and Nesta Guinness-Walker. George Marsh and Luke McCormack, the holding midfielders for the Dons today. Ethan Chislett and Jack Rudoni, the attacking midfielders, with Ayub Assal and Aaron Cosgrove leading the lines for the Dons today. Obviously, a bench, Terrier Blade, Will Nightingale on the bench, Anthony Hartigan on the bench, and Thomas. And Marie, we haven't had a chance to speak to you about Thomas yet, obviously on loan from Barnsley, potentially in line for his Dons debut. And what a night it is potentially for your Dons debut. What do you think's going through his head right now?
I mean, it's a huge opportunity for him, and going up against such a big team on his potential debut. I'm just excited to see him, and I think he's probably excited to show us what he can do, and try and potentially push other players to nick those spots. It's really exciting. Just so much pace in the team, and I think that will be one thing we're going forward with. Really trying to put in as a new threat. The new way we're going to play. It's all going to be all about that pace.
Now, Stu, Anne-Marie mentioned it there, pace. That's our new way of attack. Without Ollie Palmer, do you think that's going to be vital for us today with that pacey, exciting attack in front four? How key is that?
I think it forces us to do that way. Obviously, Macca in midfield. Rudy. I think it'll force us to go to wide areas and stuff like that. In a way, it might help us out of Mill and Ollie. You know, I know the person we shouldn't name, but you know, Ollie, you are tending to go sometimes and hit him. But actually, I think it could be a case that we may play with pace here. Cosgrave's got pace, hasn't he? So I think we'll be okay. I think the difficulty is changing your style or changing your approach so close to a game. That's the difficult side of it. But if you know Robbo, as we all do, he'll have him prepared, he'll have him motivated, and yeah, I'm quite excited tonight. It just feels like I'm here every day, doesn't it? It's like all these home games. Do you know what I mean? Like we've got so many more to come. Like who does away games?
Well, sadly some of us do, which does mean it is pretty much every day at the moment for us. Obviously we're here tonight against Ipswich. Saturday we're here against Shrewsbury before Tuesday night. Next week we host Cheltenham Town. Again, just looking at around the leagues, I know we've spoken with other guests. Stu, any of those fixtures catching your eye?
Fleetwood have started to pick up a bit of form, aren't they? Gillingham managers, Gillingham against Shrewsbury, obviously Shrewsbury. So hopefully, Gillingham are a team that will kick people, so just kick as much as they can before they come here Saturday. Hey look, do you know what? I think it's one of those things you can look around the league and look what everyone else is doing. It's in our hands now, isn't it? You know, the game. The thing is, the amount of games we've got in hand, they're coming up so quickly. So you know, it's always better to have points on the board than games in hand sometimes. So as long as we can get something from these games and be round about. Hey look, Shrewsbury coming on Saturday. 6 pointer. That's what they are, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Anne-Marie, you mentioned it there, 6 pointer on Saturday, Cheltenham the following Tuesday. Have you got a target of what you'd like us to be targeting from these 3 games?
Goodness me, I'm very much take it one game at a time. Honestly, I know that's a really easy answer, but it's just every game is so different. We're going to have different players available for each one. I'm looking at those fixtures and from a referee's point of view, Gillingham and Shrewsbury is going to have cards. And actually, you know, I just think Gillingham are going to be putting absolutely everything out there. It's their last chance saloon, and from our point of view, it seems unfair, but it'd be nice for Shrewsbury to pick up some cards going into our match on Saturday.
I didn't realise Doncaster actually got to the bottom. They won, didn't they?
Yeah, they won, and we thank them for that victory for no particular reason. But how?
Oh yeah, of course.
Now, Anne-Marie gave me an into talking about referees, so I think it'd be a waste if I don't. Least Way be the man in the middle tonight for the Dons. He's a referee who likes to let the game go, doesn't like dishing out any cards. Rob, do you think that's going to suit us tonight?
Yeah, I don't know. So yeah. You know, because we do have people like Ayab Sal, you know, who does get dragged back quite a lot, and you know, we don't get yellow cards on that kind of thing sometimes. We have got a lot of pace tonight, so I'm actually thinking pacing behind. You know, their players might want to pull off a couple of the Don shirts back, and then you know you get the left back or the right back or the yellow card, and all of a sudden, you know, we saw it with Nesta Guinness-Walker, you know, a couple of weeks ago. What can potentially happen, you know?
Now, Stu, Rob mentioned potentially not getting refereeing decisions tonight. How important is it that we deal with that in a positive way and don't let it get us down, don't let it get to our heads?
Hey look, Ipswich are they're an experienced team as well. You know, it's Burton on Saturday around the referee, you know, trying to encourage them. You know it works after a while. I think, hey look, Ayab Assal is a target, one because he's a very good player, but also because you can get him rattled when he doesn't get free kicks and stuff like that. So it's difficult to say. You've got to not get affected by it because they're youngsters. That's their learning, aren't they? But we do need a referee who's gonna, because if you fair, the amount of times he gets tugged and blocked and gets nothing and then gets frustrated. So you want a referee just to be fair. That's all you want. No favours, just fair.
It's good to set the tone in the first sort of 10-15 minutes of the match and just nip these little things in the bud, because it is so frustrating, like Rob was saying, for some of the things that happen to strikers when you're just about to create a move.
Yeah.
If we can get a referee who sets that tone early, you're not acceptable.
Now, we are minutes away from kick-off here. Tonight's game is on iFollow in the UK and internationally, so if you do want to join Mikey T and Rob Cornell, you can go to iFollow and have their brilliant company for the next 90 minutes or so before joining us straight after the final whistle here on 9 Years TV. Just before we go, Stu, your final prediction?
I don't know. Do you know what? I'll take a draw now. It wouldn't surprise me to win this game. We don't concede many goals, do we? Touch wood.
Why have you said that?
Hey, look, let's go for a 2-1 win.
Rob?
You know what? I think there's goals in this game tonight. So I'm going to go 2-2. I'm going to go 2-2. And you know, I think a point would be fantastic tonight, to be honest with you.
Anne-Marie?
I think we will win 1-0.
Well, three very positive opinions on potential outcomes for the Dons today. Just before we leave you, we'll leave you with the interview from Rob Tuvey from earlier on and let you run through the final Dons lineup as we are seconds away from kickoff here at Plough Lane. Thank you, and joined now by AFC Wimbledon's assistant head coach Rob Tuvey. Rob, I believe you've got the team news for us.
Yeah, I do. In goal tonight will be Nick Zanev. Right back will be Paul Sue. Ben Hennigan and Dan Shocker will be two centre halves. Nesta Guinness-Walker will come in at left back. Luke McCormack and George Marsh will be the holding two in midfield. Just ahead of them will be Jack Rudoni and Ethan Chislett, with Aya Bassell and Aaron Cosgrave making his home debut up top. Subs tonight will be Zaki Ulia, Terry Ablade, Will Nightingale, Shay Alexander, Dapper Mabude, Anthony Hartigan will come back in, and Thomas will be making his first.
Okay. So Rob, obviously the big news there that we've all been wondering about in the last 24 hours, Aaron Cosgrove gets a nod up top. What can we expect from him tonight?
Yeah, Aaron's been absolutely fantastic in training. We watched him loads on his loan spell with Dover. Played in a side that was struggling, but he led the line superbly, and he's taken that into training. I expect pace up there. I expect that he can hold the ball up, he can bring others into play, but he loves to play off the shoulder. So that's his main threat tonight. And if he puts in the performances that he has been in training, the lad can certainly finish. So we're really excited about him being out there tonight.
Obviously, one of the highlights there is obviously Anthony Hartigan returning on the bench, especially with the news about Woody over the last 24 hours. How excited are we to have Anthony Hartigan back involved?
Yeah, it's great. It's sooner than what we thought, but he's done really well in training. The doctors have been really happy with him as well, so it's great to have him back in a selection. He's available for up to 30 minutes tonight, which is great, and hopefully we can lead that on to Saturday where he can potentially get his minutes up again.
And obviously the final sub, Thomas, it'd be great to see him if he can get minutes tonight. What can fans who maybe haven't seen much of him, what can we expect from Thomas, not just tonight but overall? Yeah, a real technical, gifted player, both-footed. And when I mean both-footed, I mean he can literally do everything off of both feet. Real skillful player, 1v1s, loves to go at people and take players on, and is someone that hopefully will get the crowd off their feet. Rob Tuvey, thank you for joining us and good luck this evening. Cheers guys, thank you.